cloud. There we there we go. Yes. There we go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I see people coming out here, guys. When you come out here, if you could do me a favor, please mute your microphone because the information that you are going to receive is going to be awesome. It's going to be powerful. And I love, what, like I just saw the slides for the first time for what you guys are going to see. It's going to be awesome, how this goes. So really excited. My name is James Johnson. For those of you who don't know me, I have Facebook groups for 25 different states where I put a lot of information out there for people in general. It's not one of those things where, I have people out there all the time hosting them and talking about things all the time. The only time that I put Zooms together like this is if I come across somebody, like if I meet someone, I shake their hand, I know what they're about. I will absolutely get them in front of my networks to tell who they are, what they have to bring, the value added to the space, and what we can get done. I'm looking at all these names out here. I see my buddy Drew out here, Drew Kit. I see a few others as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get this thing kicked off. And like I said before, guys, I wouldn't bring anything your way if it wasn't valuable. Those who've been on my pages for a while, you know that I don't let everything get through. Like people want to advertise shit all the time, and I don't let them because I don't know them. I haven't developed any type of relationship, and I don't know if they're going to hurt farmers or growers. So it's really important when I meet people, like this young man, me and Alex have been, in communication for quite some time, but we just had the chance to meet at Texas A&M last week at the Texas Hemp Summit. And I was like, yeah, man, let's get together. Let's do something. Let's make some things happen. And that's, why we're out here right now talking about what we're going to talk about. I'm going to introduce my buddy, Alex Wu of Kanda Hemp, and let him give you guys some information on some genetics that he actually has access to. And these are coming straight from China, guys. It's not the man sitting next to the man, sitting next to the man who heard about some seed. No, this is like, coming straight from the well, to your cup to pour into you, your crops and everything that you have going on, for 2023 and beyond. So with that being said, Alex, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey.
Awesome, man. There you are. Cool, cool, cool. Well, brother, welcome out here, to Zoom. I appreciate you taking some time to come out here and talk to the people. We're literally 13 strong right now, and I'm still letting more people out here as things, progress. So, let's start off, tell people who you are, who you're with, and why should we be out here listening to this guy talking about fiber seed tonight?
Awesome. All right. I just want to say, first of all, thank you, JJ, for having me here.
Yes,
and
sir.
It's awesome. It's an awesome platform that you have. And it's, yeah, I'm just honored to be here. So let me just jump straight to my slides.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody see the slides?
Yep. We can see.
So my name is Alex Wu. I'm originally from China. I'm currently in Boston. The company I'm representing is Kanda Hemp, and we are the superior industrial hemp seeds supplier for fiber, earth, and grain applications. So this is the team, Direct Seed Source. So I run the US operations for our breeding team in China. I'm the founder of Kanda Hemp. I'm currently also studying at MIT Sloan for sustainability track. And the breeding team is Mr. Xu, and they were the certified hemp and kenaf breeders since 1978. They've been breeding hemp for fiber application back then for a while. And we're all believers of hemp for a sustainable future. So what is Kanda Hemp? Kanda Hemp is the US operation that is a one-stop shop service for those hemp growers who want to grow for fiber, earth, and grain applications. And yeah, we basically supply the genetics. We bring them over to you at the lowest price, at the most convenience for you. And you may have seen some of our seeds in the market as they are everywhere. On the left-hand side, you will see Yuma, Puma 3, and Hane, also known as Jima. These are the current flagship seeds that's really popular and has been proven all over the States. But over this year and the next coming years, we're going to have more newer and better genetics that are going to perform differently for a very specific application that you may be interested in. For example, as you can see, the big seeds we have right there, that's 3 times the size of the Yuma we have right now. So that's really amazing for grain and oil and food productions. And as you can see, we have some Yuma S enhanced version, Yuma S and Yuma T. One is enhanced grain application for dual purpose. And you'll see the Yuma T is for basically tiny seeds. And these are designed for, increasing the plant population per acres that you can have. And moreover, the next years, we're going to bring some even pretty insane genetics that are pretty insensitive to lights, photoperiods, which means they will pretty much grow in the dark. And so these are the genetics that you'll be seeing. And why are they? What's their advantage basically? They're definitely the king of biomass performance. You've seen the photos as we'll show you very shortly. Our genetic we have higher yields, which means higher profit for farmers and growers, processors. These genetics are very versatile. You can use them for different applications, dual purpose, fiber, herd, or grain. And most importantly, they grow everywhere. They grow in different geographic locations. As you can see that our seeds are in already all over the world, not just in the US. They're in South America, they're in Argentina, Peru, Colombia. This is the same genetic on the right-hand side. As you can see, that's Puma 3. It's planted very densely for fiber application. And the next one, as more importantly, the North America, where our seeds have been grown in Montana, all the way down to Texas, from the West Coast, California, all the way to Pennsylvania on the East Coast. And they perform really well, as you can see from the pictures. And these studies are backed up by university data that are done by very well-known universities like Texas A&M and North Carolina State universities. And this is a study done by Texas A&M where they planted out different genetics. And as you can see, Yuma are one of the better performers in Texas. It actually grows compared to a lot of European genetic that really matures really early, and it doesn't have any vegetative cycles at all. It's just not bred for that environment. And furthermore, data from NCSU and Texas A&M that shows our genetics basically grew until late September, and they average about 8 feet with a very significant high biomass per acre. And all of these photos and all of these data are coming from partners, our clients and friends, who are those people who are in the industry and trying to grow the hemp industry together. And these are basically some of these names you may have heard of. They have grown our genetics with us, and we're working with several universities right now, and we're looking to work with more. So you might have seen over 28,000 different industrial applications can be made from hemp. And these are some examples not taken from not from Google. These are actually products that we made in China, in Asia, that we have developed. So we have these technology. At Conda Hemp, we really provide more than seeds itself. We also provide down the line byproduct. We provide machines and even technologies from bioplastic to pallets and all the way to food and grain for hemp milk. These are all possible by working through with Conda. Yeah, so other than seeds, we also have very cost-efficient machines, decorticating systems. Instead of investing a couple $1 million into a brand new market, you might want to set up your value chains and your business networks first, finding your buyers to see how you can process it. And our machines are very cost-efficient options to do that. They are basically a fraction of the price than the European machines, as you may see. So how does Conda Hemp operate? It's very easy. You place the order right now for the lowest seed price of the season. You just wait, and then we'll deliver the seeds to you for next season, before April. If you actually deposit now, we'll be able to get the seeds to you by February and March 2023. Very early ahead of time for your planting seasons. And all of our seeds will come with spec sheets, germination tests, and COAs. And this year we'll be able to get some germination tests prior to you placing the orders. And what do we guarantee at Conda Hemp is that we have the lowest agency price. We will do genetic and soil consultation with you before you place the order, or just to find out what's best for you. We work with the biggest bank. We work with Chase. We have a very secure payment system, and every order that you place will be insured. So we'll be able to really achieve cost and time saving for you. We'll handle everything from customer to shipping. All you have to do is place the orders. We'll cover your risk. And if your season doesn't go well, let's say something happened to your growing season, we will be able to, please communicate with us. We'll be able to provide you with solutions and figure something out for you. We'll always be happy to do that. We're not just here for seed sales. We're here to ensure that farmers can grow, hemp growers can find success, essentially. And that's it. That's us. Conda Hemp. Make everything possible from plants. We hope to grow together. This is my contact information. I'll be really happy to chat with all of you one-on-one to find out what's the best solution for you. All right.
Awesome, 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 man. I like the fact that hey Alex, can you stop the share on
Yes.
your end? I really like the fact that you were down to earth, concise. You know, you have, you know, all of your stuff lined up, boom, 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 you know, good to go. And I wanted to make sure that, you know, I mean, I have a couple things that I, you know, was going to ask myself, but prior to me asking anything, I wanted to give others a chance to see if they have any questions. I know one person there's one person out here who's always on my Zoom and always has some great questions. Miss Iola Stallings, and I see she's already turned her camera on. Miss Iola, can you unmute your microphone? I know you
Yeah.
got a question. There you go.
No,
How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good, good.
Yeah. No, right now I'm just listening and absorbing. I almost did make a call, but anyway, that's another story. Yeah. I just want to. I'll look at the information and get back because I'm in a totally different place right now.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Good to see you, though.
Yeah, always good to see you as well. Well, then I'll just kind of kick things off and ask a question real quick, Alex. What kind of issues did you guys have with running hot? You know, I heard some, you know, some varieties can be known to, you know, run hot if they're grown too long. I mean, have y'all had any issues with that in terms of going over 0.3% THC?
Yeah, I think some genetics had that issues in Texas. Texas had a really bad drought this year, and they only had 6 inches of rain. So that, you know, hemp tends to go a little bit hot in that kind of conditions. But what they had was I believe an exemptions for if you're cropping earlier for fiber.
Mm-hmm.
There's an exemption for that allows you to basically save your crop and just collect your harvest still.
Yeah. So, and that's, you know, testing, you know, throughout the grow is always important, especially if you're growing for fiber, because, you know, you're not going to have a lot of buds and leaves, you know, with necessarily a fiber crop as you would, you know, growing for high CBD. So, you know, it's important to kind of check those throughout. So I just wanted to ask that. And also it's important to talk about, you mentioned decortication briefly, you know, as well too. And I'm all about, you know, like for me, I always tell people, if you don't know who's going to buy your crop on the end, don't put this stuff in the ground, because like the only thing that you will probably end up growing ahead of time without a buyer will be smokable flower, right? But if you're growing for biomass, if you're growing for fiber, you need to know who's growing this, who you're growing it for ahead of time. And also, if you're not within a 150, 200-mile radius of a decortication facility, you're going to lose your ass, because it's going to need to be transported somewhere to actually be decorticated before it can be sold. So I know with your decorticators, you know, farmers kind of have a chance to do something small scale before they go something big, you know, to actually get some decortication done. So can you speak to that a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. So it definitely is. The reason why it's more cost efficient is because, first of all, it's in manufacturing in China. It's just a little bit more efficient to produce machines there. And the system is designed a little bit more for manual processing. But with that said, you get a good really output from the machines that we have. You get to basically see what you can do with the fibers. You may be able to clean up the fibers and actually be able to sell it for a longer radius than 60 miles if you're just selling the bales. So that's the benefits that our machine provides you. It's a very, very cost-efficient way to allow you to find a buyer, essentially.
Right, absolutely. I see someone unmuted. Rocio, is that how that's pronounced?
I apologize. I will mute myself right now.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you had a question for us.
No, I had myself muted and then I hit on mute and then I guess you can hear me.
Yep, busted. No, I'm joking. Totally glad that you were able to make it out here and receive the information. If anyone else has any other questions, this would be the perfect time to unmute and kind of ask those questions, because we want to make sure we make appropriate use of Alex's time. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge, and it's like this is the perfect time for those of you that are considering growing fiber to actually ask these questions. I see Claire unmuted here. Claire, how are you?
Hi, thank you, JJ. I'm doing, thank you.
Good.
So I'm coming up with a project to use industrial fiber hemp to clean soil that has been contaminated.
Okay.
So it's a totally different angle for you, industrial fiber, hemp. So I'm wondering, Alex, if there's any certain variety that you would recommend for this particular job.
Yes, actually, we funny that we actually run into a few soil remediation projects in Asia that are interested in using our genetics, because as you probably know very well that hemp sucks up all the things in the soil very well, and that so one of the ones that really grow like Yuma and the bigger seeds, the bigger seed genetic, they can grow really fast. They can have a really rapid growth in the early, if you plant really early ahead. Those are genetics I would recommend, as they will cover basically the weeds. They will outgrow the weeds, and they will be able to really have a canopy develop at a very rapid rate that can also develop the deep roots in the soil to capture soil. Yeah, to do the job basically.
And when you say deep roots, how deep are you saying?
At a study that we saw in Texas A&M also, we saw roots that goes down to 2 meters.
Okay.
Around, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I see. Thank you so much for the question, Claire. I appreciate that. If you think of anything else, please unmute and let us know. But I see Miss Nikisha has raised her hand here, and she's been patiently awaiting to ask a question. So Nikisha, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for the presentation, JJ.
Yeah.
So Alex, I didn't capture all of the logos of the institutions that you've been working with so far, but it seemed as though most of them were like on the West Coast or Midwest. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have any customers or institutions on the East Mid-Atlantic or Southeastern border that have been using, is using your seeds? Because my concern is about our climate. Like Texas gets as hot as as the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. However, we have humidity, that also may be a factor. So I just wanted to know if you had any
Nikisha,
clients that have had the experience growing.
What state are you in, Nikisha?
So I'm in Maryland right now, but our growing is in Alabama.
Okay, that's where I'm from, Alabama. Yeah.
I know that. We've talked.
That's right. I keep forgetting.
The Atmore family.
Okay, yeah. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So with that climate, it's just like, okay, well, how, I don't know how, is it a great investment? What are the challenges environmentally? That's my, what I was be looking at, as well as some other things. So maybe I need to follow up with you offline. I'm not sure, but I was trying to look at what you had on the chart.
Tuskegee University is one of the universities.
Okay, I Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, we,
part of
Tuskegee University have worked with our genetics and they have some local data. And afterwards, I can be able to get some data to you directly on the seeds that they trialed with us.
Okay.
And Alabama actually has processor in Alabama that I can also recommend to you.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in Montgomery. And yeah, and our genetics actually are in North Carolina, South Carolina,
Gotcha. Okay.
Alabama. They have all been trialed there and they have done really well.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
And he brings up a great point. These are, there's a decorticator, in the Montgomery area, but you also have to look at that mile radius. How far are you, from there? Because you too far away, it may be more beneficial for you to look at, setting up a decortication facility yourself.
Right. Absolutely. That's something that we are looking at as well, because we do know where we're located. It is a bit of a stretch. And so there's the need in that area. Absolutely.
Yep. So thank you so much. If you think of anything else, please let us know, Nikisha, and we can definitely, unmute. I see a couple of other individuals have unmuted as well. I see Miss Gail Ellis has unmuted. Miss Ellis, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
That's awesome. So you guys were talking about the processor in Montgomery. So what we've heard this year is that they are so overbooked because they are one of the few fiber extractors in Alabama. I believe they're the only one. So that is something else to consider when you are taking your harvested hemp materials to a processor. You need to be calling them at the beginning of the year to find out what it is, how much they can take, how backed up are they, because that's going to affect your outcome and how the time that you get any kind of payback or any kind of ability to process your material into products or anything on the end. That's all I wanted to say.
Absolutely. And that I'm so glad you brought that up to kind of further reiterate, what we were saying all along is there may be one within 150, 200 mile radius, but if they're at capacity, okay, well, it's time to make some other decisions. So definitely, thank you, for unmuting and bringing that up. And I know you're a very pertinent individual who's dialed into all things, Alabama. So to hear that from you is definitely something that people need to, take heed of in that area. So I see we've got Mr. David Canby who has unmuted. David, can you hear me? Oh, maybe he didn't. Maybe he unmuted and it wasn't on purpose. So it's okay. I know David was in the Army for a while, so sometimes these things can be technical challenges. I'm kidding, I'm joking. It's Army Air Force thing. We always mess with each other, so don't pay me any attention whatsoever. Does anyone else have any questions? I see a few people that have unmuted, so either start speaking or raise your hand, and we will definitely get your questions entertained at this time. I see Rocio
Hi.
has raised her hand. Hello.
Hello. I think I joined a little late, so I'm not sure if y'all covered this or not. We are farmers in really South Georgia, Southwest Georgia. We're close to Florida and Alabama.
Okay.
This year, actually, this season, we planted hemp fiber or industrial hemp. And the variety that we used, it either didn't come out of the ground or the plant didn't grow for more than 3 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And the plant is on the ground right now. So like I said, I don't know if y'all have covered the seed part yet. Our crop has been on the ground now for well over 2 months. It's kind of an experiment that we did because we have been planting just CBD, straight for CBD. But this time we planted MS77, a seed from Australia. And it was supposed to be a good fit for our climate, which is very similar to what, it's hot and it's extremely humid. But it has also been very dry and it can be very, very hot. So, we don't know if other farmers in South Georgia or in North Georgia growing industrial hemp. I know that there's a facility or they're building a facility in Troy University, which is in Alabama as well, for the decorticator. I don't know of any decorticators in the state of Georgia or Florida or Alabama.
So what is your question in particular?
I guess the seeds. How do we know like what seed is going to grow if the seed that we actually got our seed through universities? We had to go through 3 universities to get our seed. So
Right.
it wasn't just something that we bought off the internet from somebody that we just didn't know,
Right.
We've had our local agents, agricultural agents come out and look at the plant and see why it didn't do what it's supposed to do. These plants are supposed to grow to some 15 feet or something. They're
Yeah.
not 3 inches high, right?
Yeah.
So that's the issue we ran into. We followed everything that we were told to do, from planting it to taking care of it and we just haven't seen the results. So if you can speak more on on farmers in the Southeast, because I know we're way behind everybody else in the country from growing. I guess what seed are you suggesting that y'all have that would grow well in our climate, since it hasn't been planted here? And I understand how the genetics work, how the seeds might come from China, but they're made specifically for specific climates and whatnot. So
Okay,
Yeah.
so what do you
Okay.
got, Alex?
I can answer to that for a bit. So you say you planted 2 months ago, right?
that's August the 1st. We
August the-
planted August the 1st.
And have you seen similar planting cycles planted in August 1st that was successful in your area? Or no, you haven't?
It was the first time that it was ever planted, or I guess it was planted 70 plus years ago, but
Yeah. Okay.
other than that, we're working with no data.
Right. For most of our southern applications, southern growers like Florida, Alabama, North and South Carolina, they usually have a fairly early planting season in April and March, and that usually has a higher success rate based on research. And to tell how the seed, if it can grow in your region, basically to look at the latitude where it was bred in, and usually the seed spec sheet should provide you with that, what the latitudes that the seed is designed for. And in our seeds that we have seeds, our genetics are covered that range of South Georgia. So that's one thing to look at first, and then is to do a germination test locally. So you should do a germination test with a local lab, and maybe you should do it like also just like a small plot trial, put it into the ground to see if it germinates, and that would decide basically the condition of that seed first. But also it's really to look at prior data to see which ones have grew that. As you can see, this is our genetic that have grown in the southern climate on the North Carolina, California, Texas region, and it was fairly south. So it's to find growers who have found successful, and in your case, I guess you were the first grower in your area to try to prove your genetics, to prove MS77 that will grow. And I hope that answered some of your questions.
Yes. And then just, I'm looking at North Carolina. Even our climate down here is very different from North Carolina
Right,
or even Texas.
right.
Um,
It's more humid, right?
it
Um,
it is it gets extremely humid and it gets extremely hot, and it's either very wet or very dry. It
right.
just, and I think everybody who farms knows that the climate is a little crazy right now. So it's just, you know, uh,
Okay,
you get the rain and you work with what you have.
got
And
it.
one thing that I want to bring up that's very important, it doesn't matter about how many acres you have. If it's your first time growing something, kind of like, Alex was alluding to, and I teach this in my Hemp 101 seminar, we talk about doing, seed variety trials, maybe do a quarter acre or a half acre plot just to see how it grows first before you plant 100, 200 acres of something that you're not sure how it's going to perform, because that could be a waste of money. Just because you were able to grow some CBD seed there, that's different from fiber seed. So it's important to do those smaller plots first, so that you don't lose a lot or have a lot vested if you select the wrong seed.
Mm, yeah. And to also follow up on JJ's point, I will also have farmers who have grew out genetic. Florida is a bit similar to your environment, right? Your condition is very humid as well. So we have growers who have grew out genetic in Florida, and we can connect you, basically see what's their growing practice that allowed them to be successful, and see what there might be a differences. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
No,
So
thank you.
awesome discussion there. I see that we're gonna do two things. I know I saw Miss Iola has her hand up, patiently waiting to ask her question, and then I think David's gonna chime in after that. So Miss Iola, you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes. When he was talking about they were doing testing for the soil and growing the fiber for the soil to clean the area. My question is, were you able to use that plant after, the cleaning process was done, or how did that work for you? Or has it been tested? Do you know how you dispose of it? Because once it does that cleaning process, what happens next? I'm curious about that.
Right. I believe it depends on what your application is. If it's just for soil remediation, or you can, let's say, if you have a fiber, you use it for soil remediate, and then you have this bunch of stock left, you could potentially, sell them for non-woven application, or processors who can use them to turn into other byproducts that I showed you in the slides. I can show you again.
But definitely not for anything. You're not going to remediate soil and then use it for human consumption.
No.
No. I kind of figured that piece of it, but I was just curious, what were your other,
pretty much all the things on the left hand side other than grain you could potentially use, and these are some of our technologies that we have developed.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
yeah, so those things you can use from the herd and the fibers. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I see my good buddy David Canby. We've been kind of talking offline here. David, can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Army strong. That's what I'm talking about. How you doing, brother?
Hey, we fixed the stuff you mess up.
Oh,
We just use
whatever.
brute force.
Whatever, man. How you been?
Good. How y'all doing tonight?
Good, man. I've been seeing some of your progress. I know you're doing some awesome things, across the space. And man, whatever nuggets you have or whatever you want to say, dude, go for it.
Well, let's go back to the Dalton, Georgia. I do have a grow as far as Edistell all the way down in Charleston. That's probably as close as I can get to Dalton, Georgia. We did a trial down with Vidalia Onion in Dalton, or I don't know if they're out of Dalton or somewhere in Georgia, and they actually did real good, but they planted, back to what Alex was saying, they planted earlier in the season. Anytime you put a seed in the ground August, you better have a irrigation.
Yep.
I mean, especially down in that humidity. We've grown from New York all the way down to Georgia, and Texas and California, everywhere. So, I mean, I wouldn't rush blaming germination or seed. It could have just been, farmers' fault. That's something we have to learn. We are creating something that we got to remember. We've only been doing industrial fiber here recently for what, 4 years now. So it's a trial and error.
Yep.
Now back to the processors and stuff in Alabama, Bascor, if I'm not mistaken, they're growing the small plots in Alabama now for their own use. They used to actually sub out. Actually, James, me and you was on the phone with Alabama last year whenever we tried to get them to get seed.
Yep.
And they was growing up in Kentucky. So they are trying a lot of stuff down towards Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi. Next year, we'll probably see that area take off a good bit, to tell you the truth. As far as processors, I don't know of any other processors down in that area. You got Tetra Farms, which is down in Halligan, John Bradley, and that's in Texas. And then you got Bascor. So if you're going to grow, you may want to talk to Bascor to see if they are willing to buy what you grow first. Don't go out on a whim thinking, hey, we're going to grow it and then somebody's going to buy it. Like what we do at Biofield, we personally pay per acre and supply the seed to the farmer. And that's just because whenever you're running a production, you have to know what you're going to get. And then at the same time, we try to limit any risk to the farmer that's growing for us. I mean, if we're giving you the seed and you're farming, even if the act of God, Mother Nature, takes that crop out, we still pay the farmer. We're all learning together. Some people have to take a little bit higher risk, and that's where the supplier, as processors, those processors are going to have to, pony up and take on that risk.
Yep. And just so everybody out here knows, I personally vouch for David Canby 100%. The dude is about his word. He does what he says he's going to do. He's going to pay. I mean, he'll go pick your stuff up for you. If he makes a deal with you, he's going to honor that deal. So I definitely am full support, of what he does, because I love that he's about his word. Once I found out he was a veteran, also even more so. I mean, he kind of lost a few points for being Army, but he made up with it for keeping his word, always doing what he says he would do and being Army strong,
Tit for tat.
So, and David, if you got a few minutes to hang out, please do, because as people are unmuting and asking questions, I know you got the firsthand experience. I see Rocio is am I pronouncing it right? Is it Rocio?
Yes, you're
Okay.
pronouncing it right.
Yes, I'm from Alabama. You got to work with me.
It's all right. So, following up on something that David just said. Hello, David. Yes, it's true. Actually, when we planted on August 1st, we knew that we were late, that it was later in the season. But part of what we did was it was all research, like we wanted to know what it was going to do at that time, planning it at that time. So I know another, I believe she's a farmer, brought something up maybe about 5 minutes ago, specifically about, where it grows when you plant it, and stuff like that. So, what we learned, I think she's doing research for soil remediation, which we're actually doing research for that as well. So, I guess there's a lot of people in the platform that, have, the same questions. And I just wanted to add, that's one thing that we learned, even though the plant didn't grow, we learned that in South Georgia, it's not going to grow if you plant it at a certain time. So it was more of a research, so that other farmers know not to do that, because it's not going to grow.
Yep. And you bring up, go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
Now, I know you said you grew the M77, which is still a Chinese land strain, is a cross between a Hane and a Yuma. I personally grew Yuma. We planted August the 29th for grain, and we harvested December last year. So the I'd have to actually know exactly how you did everything, the depth, if you use seed drill, if you broadcasted the condition of the soil before we can go in depth. And I'm glad to help any way possible just to see what happened, because any of the Asian land strain, don't matter if it's the Yuma, MS77 or whatever, you can actually grow that in August. And it could have been you got some old seed. I don't know who you purchased the M77 from. If it didn't come from Adam Cantrell and it come from some people up in North Carolina that I knew that was holding seed, if they didn't store it properly, it could have been bad germination that way. So there's a lot of things that could have went into that, why it didn't grow, other than just, being drought or testing.
David, I would definitely love to talk to you further about this at another time. So, JJ, are you going to be sharing people's information?
Yeah. So here's what I will. So just so you guys know, if you want to talk to David, if you want to talk to Alex, what I ask that you guys do is email me directly. My email address is James, JAMES @jjgro.com. Once again, JAMES @jjgro.com. Email me what your question is, and then I will get you linked up. I will take that email and forward it over to them appropriately. And then all we have to do is just reply all back and forth throughout the discussion, so everybody's on the same page and we know what's going on at all times to get everyone, situated with the best answers possible.
Yes, thank you, JJ. As a JJ will tell everybody, I'm hard to get in touch with.
Yeah, he is, until you start talking shit about him, he'll get back with you, but it takes a while sometimes. But like I said, David is a great guy. He's a great resource, and I'm glad David has been in the trenches, growing himself, harvesting himself, taking his equipment around, helping people harvest and do things, because he has a lot of real world firsthand experience that you guys will definitely benefit from.
JJ,
Yes.
this is Gail.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a good discussion. I don't know how many Alabama growers are on the phone. One of the biggest things that we have seen in the Alabama hemp program is that the lack of knowledge on purchasing seeds, obtaining seeds, is very minimal, and they need to be aware of the seed laws, the federal seed laws and the state seed laws as well, because there's labeling requirements on those seeds. And many of the seeds that have, not all of them, but many of them are old seeds, like 2 years old or older. And if you're not aware of what you are getting, you need to understand that it's just like going to Lowe's, and you're not going to buy a plant that is dead looking or is usually root bound. You're going to buy a healthy looking plant. The same thing for your seeds. You need to be aware of what it is you're buying. So you need to review those seed labels. If it comes to you in a mason jar or a Ziploc baggie that has nothing but handwritten name or variety on it, that is questionable. And
that's like that shade tree mechanic, shade tree seed.
Yeah. So you need to return it. You need to be asking questions. You need to push back a little bit on that, because you're spending your money and you're going to do all the work involved in trying to grow that, propagate that seed, grow it into something.
Yes. So thank you, Gail. Yeah, I can speak to that too. So every seed that you buy, order from Contact Hemp, will be the fresh seeds of the season. And every bag will be labeled with what the variety is, what the germination is that was tested. And that's what we guarantee.
And that right there is a sign of a good source, that they voluntarily do that.
Yes.
You don't have to beg them for it. You don't have to needle them and tell them that the state's after you to give that information. That's great.
And that's why I don't bring everybody out on my platform who has something. I only want the credible people, the real people that I know and have established these relationships with, to talk to people, because I know they're going to give you what you need so that you can go through the process. Because one thing I know is facts tell, but stories sell. You know, if you create good stories for people, that's going to create more good stories later on down the line. People don't need to buy cheap seed and then can't get germination rates or COAs or what. It just makes it more complicated, you know. So yeah, that's why I like this. I see we have a question coming from Bonnie. Bonnie, not sure where you're at, but please unmute, tell us where you're from and what's your question.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm actually from Florida, so I know there's a lot of Alabama's residents here. We are new to the fiber industry. Did actually a test crop with some UMA and Puma seeds. I don't know, they were actually, they were, I don't believe from Alex's company. However, we were the opposite situation of Alabama growers. We got hit with planting the end of August, end up with 10 inches of rain within 3 weeks, and then was hit by Hurricane Ian. So we got the flood issues going on. Really wanted to ask a question more pertaining to the processing in Florida. I know it's a slow grow. I actually met you in Nashville, I believe, JJ. So that's where I met you at.
God, I met so many people in Nashville.
Yeah. Oh no. You were, yeah, you met a ton of people in Nashville. But anyways, Alex, with your processing equipment, we do have a small decorticator we've just obtained ourselves. Looks pretty much like what you showed on the screen, actually. And Jade, have you heard of anything coming to Florida with processing? Any of the South Georgia folks heard anything with processing? Because I do know the UMA and Puma seed is of what we've looked into as well, Alex, and I will be reaching out to you through JJ.
Yes, through JJ.
So any testing with University of Florida has been a hard one to get any information from. I don't know if you've tested through them or not.
I believe they have our data, but they didn't get it from us directly. But I think we are making contact with them right now to see if we can provide any data for you. If I do, it definitely will. If I do get data from you anywhere in Florida, I'll be able to pass it forward to you.
Okay, yeah, it's been anything in Florida has been tough. There hasn't been much success from what I've researched.
Now, one thing that I want to address real quick, just because, I mean, so it's no secret that I actually own a cannabis testing laboratory. We just closed it down because we weren't getting enough testing in the doors to keep the doors open, so we closed it down. But one of the unique things about us was we were one of the only people in the country that were testing fiber and herd for things like cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, total protein, tensile strength, carbon sequestration with herd, all these different parameters. And I will tell you something right now, just because you decorticate, that does not mean you have a buyer. It does not, because every buyer, and Bonnie, this is not about you. I'm just speaking to everyone in general. You know, every buyer has different specifications that they want their stuff processed to. You know, I'll give you, for instance, if someone is, there was a customer of ours who was starting to manufacture a tampon out of hemp fibers. Well, the ladies don't like herd in their stuff. So you don't want herd in those fibers. So you got to make sure you have a product that is truly herd free in that. So it's very important to make sure you know who you're providing a product to. And if you don't have someone to provide a product to, you do not have the tiger by the tail yet. I'm sorry. You just bought some shit and you're just praying that it works. And don't do that, because it'll end up costing you more in the end if you don't have a solid source lined up for the offtake. Hope I didn't rain on nobody's parade, because I'm not trying to. I've just firsthand observation.
No, not mine personally. We've actually started with a 1/4 acre and a 1/2 acre trial because we don't want to lose our ass. The small decorticator we obtained, we actually got for a very reasonable price. We're old school farmers, so we understand the equipment and things of that nature. And I was just certainly curious of any processing South Florida, if anybody's heard, or the rumor mill going around or anything of that.
I think what you're going to find for that area is a lot of people are doing those seed variety trials, right now. And like, kind of David alluded to, there are people who are doing those trials. So now that they know, or they're currently finding out what grows well, now the next cycle comes the ramp up, because they know which genetics are going to work, which ones are going to perform in these areas. So they know what's going to work. People start lining up decortication units and things of that nature, to kind of play ball. Because there is a big ramp up coming in the South. I'll just tell you guys straight up, there is a ramp up coming in the South, for fiber, and you just got to be ready. I mean, they just approved hempcrete as a building material, for insulative building materials in the US. So there's going to be a huge ramp up that comes with that. You just got to have the off takes to support it.
The only processor I know, which I'm gonna use processor very loosely in Florida, is Jason Masters and them, and that's strictly for animal bedding. But they're doing just tub grinder. It's not what I would consider decortication per se. I'll put it that way.
Yep. And some people, they want fibers that have been treated gently, not beaten to death. So there are different decorticators. Some will beat your fiber to death and you still have hurt attached to the fibers, but there's more modernized decortication equipment out there as well that will actually shear it based on the lines of fissure. So basically it'll give it enough heat and enough air through pneumatic pressures to separate it versus beating it to death. So once again, that's something that's definitely going to be in play as time goes on.
Yes. I mean, we've got 3 different decortication
Thanks so much.
techniques at our facility.
Awesome. Bonnie, were you you kind of cut out there for a second, Bonnie? I'm not sure if you had something else to add or not.
No, that's fine. I was just saying thank you for the information. That was
Absolutely.
awesome.
Hey, thank you for following me all the way from Nashville. I love groupies. Keep it up. Add some people to the page too. Let's do it.
Yeah, and if there's any questions specifically on seeds, the details, I'm very happy to connect with everyone through JJ to answer anything. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So well, Alex, I certainly appreciate your time. David, I appreciate you jumping out here as well. I appreciate everybody who's come out here. We just had one person who just joined at the very last second. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get a lot of information at this point for the person who just joined. But please stay tuned to the page for your state, because as soon as this is done and the recording wraps up, I'm going to post a recording out there on all of the pages as well. So that way you guys can share this information with others. And once again, if someone wants to make further contact, with Alex, ask questions of David, put those questions on an email, send them to me at James, JAMES at jjgro.com. And I will definitely be happy to forward those questions on and get a discussion going so that we can all figure out how to best help everyone. I'm really excited for many different reasons in 2023 in terms of these ramp ups and just how the mindset or how the pendulum is starting to swing away from CBD so much, because CBD is always going to be there, but the industrial side is starting to pick up now. And those of you that are on this call are the ones that have decided to pre-position themselves and get in front of this runaway freight train, because it is going to run away, as this ramp up happens. So Alex, David, I can't thank you guys enough, for your efforts. Miss Gail, I can't thank you enough for all your hard work there in the state of Alabama, and everyone else who's out here. So I appreciate everyone's time. And one last time, does anyone have any more questions before we conclude for the evening?
Would you say your email address one more time?
Yes, ma'am. It is James, JAMES at jjgro.com. Once again, JAMES at jjgro.com. Just put your questions on there directly, and then I'm going to forward those questions to Alex or David as need be, and we'll try to get some things worked out for you guys. So whether you're down in Alabama, whether you're up in Colorado, if you're over in Maryland, if you're in Cali, wherever you're at, and you're out here listening to this information, I truly appreciate you guys chiming in and let us bring some information your way this evening. And I hope you guys have the rest of a good night and a good week. Y'all take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.